Urgent Cleveland Browns fans. Do not miss this. What just happened? You won't believe this one. But before we reveal the big news, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because here, we bring you daily videos with the latest Cleveland Browns updates. And to not miss anything, activate the notifications. Alright, Browns fans, buckle up because today we've got a story that's been making waves across the NFL circles. It's about a player who has sparked both excitement and controversy, and his journey to Cleveland is anything but ordinary. It's about none other than Shedeurs, the Colorado quarterback who's been one of the most talked about prospects of the last decade. His name has been swirling around the draft evaluation boards, the media, and even the locker rooms. And the story takes a major turn with his selection by the Cleveland Browns, a team that's been looking for stability at the quarterback position for what feels like an eternity. But what really happened? How did a player once mocked as a potential top 3 pick fall so far, and what does that mean for the Browns moving forward? Well, let's dive into this fascinating saga. First off, it's impossible to ignore the buzz surrounding Shedeurs during the draft season. If you've been following college football, you already know that Sanders, son of NFL legend Deion Sanders, has had a meteoric rise. From a high school prodigy to a college star, Shedeurs has always been in the spotlight. When he transferred to Colorado, expectations skyrocketed. People wondered if he could carry the Buffs into the national conversation and perhaps even turn them into a powerhouse. And as a quarterback, his skill set is undeniable. He's got a cannon for an arm, impressive mobility, and a playmaking ability that's rare for a college quarterback. But it's not just his talent that caught the scouts' attention, it's his personality, his leadership style, and, let's be honest, his familial connection to Deion Sanders. That last part, though, has been a double-edged sword. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Before the draft, some analysts had Sanders pegged as a potential top 3 pick. Yeah, you heard that right. Many believed he could be the franchise quarterback that teams desperately seek. But as the process went on, questions about his consistency, his decision-making under pressure, and his off-the-field demeanor started to surface. Some scouts loved his raw talent, but others were wary of his leadership style and how he interacted with teammates. You see, there were reports of Shedeurs sometimes throwing his offensive line under the bus after tough games, which didn't sit well with some coaching staffs. An example that made headlines was after a game against Nebraska, where he publicly criticized his line for not giving him enough protection. That kind of behavior raised eyebrows. The NFL, after all, is a league built on teamwork, accountability, and maturity. And while Shedeurs has undeniable talent, these off-the-field elements became part of the conversation. And then there's the social media aspect. Shedeurs didn't shy away from making some comments that didn't help his case. For instance, on X, formerly Twitter, he criticized a former teammate, saying, "I don't even remember him tbh. Bro had to be very mid at best." Now, for a young quarterback trying to make a good impression, that's not exactly the kind of headline you want. It raised questions about his maturity, his ability to handle criticism, and his overall leadership qualities. These are the kinds of things NFL teams scrutinize intensely when making their draft decisions. And while his talent was undeniable, as the draft approached, many teams started to think twice about taking him high. Now, let's talk about the Browns' perspective. Cleveland, as many of you know, has been searching for that franchise quarterback for years. They've tried different guys, drafted high, traded picks, brought in veterans, but nothing has truly stuck. So, when Browns general manager Andrew Berry and his staff sat down to evaluate prospects, they had a lot of factors to consider. And despite the swirling questions about Sanders' off-the-field behavior and personality, Cleveland's brass saw something different. They saw talent, potential, and a player who, with the right guidance, could be the cornerstone of their offense. That's why they took him in the 5th round. Yes, 5th round. It might seem late compared to the initial buzz about his talent, but the Browns' decision was strategic. They wanted to see if they could develop that raw ability into a winning NFL starter. During his introductory press conference, Barry was asked whether Deion Sanders' personality played a role in Shedeurs' draft stock. And here's where things get a little spicy. Barry, ever diplomatic, said that the Browns didn't factor in Deion's media presence or reputation into their decision. "I can't say if that was a factor or not for other teams, but that was not a significant factor for us," he said. But, let's be honest, behind the scenes, NFL sources are telling us that the story isn't so clear-cut. Some believe that Deion's larger-than-life personality and his influence in the media did have some impact on Shedeurs' drop in the draft order. It's a complicated story because Deion is not just a former player, he's a media icon, a coach with a unique approach, and someone who's always been disruptive in a way that commands attention. You see, Deion Sanders, aka Coach Prime, has been a controversial figure in the coaching space. From Jackson State to Colorado, he's been shaking things up, challenging conventions, and making headlines. His coaching style is unorthodox, and his outspoken personality often makes waves in the media. For some NFL teams, this might have been a red flag. They worry about locker room dynamics, media distractions, and the overall impact of having a coach and quarterback with such high-profile personalities. But others see his approach as a plus, someone who's confident, charismatic, and can motivate players to perform at their best. Cleveland, for now, seems to have taken the latter view, banking on Shedeurs' talent and potential, rather than the off-field drama. So, what does this mean moving forward? Well, Browns fans, the story is far from over. Shedeurs Sanders arrives in Cleveland with a lot of expectations, but also a fair share of doubts. Can he develop into a franchise quarterback? Will he be able to handle the pressure, the media attention, and the intense scrutiny that comes with playing in the NFL? Those are questions only time will answer. But one thing is certain, Cleveland is betting on his talent, and they're willing to take that risk. They see the potential for him to be a game-changer, especially with a solid team around him. The offensive line, the weapons, and the coaching staff will be crucial in shaping his future. And don't forget, Browns fans, the NFL is a league of redemption, growth, and second chances. If Shedeur can mature, learn from his mistakes, and harness his skills, he might just be the quarterback that finally puts Cleveland back on the map. But let's not ignore the bigger picture here. Cleveland's draft strategy, especially in the later rounds, has been a topic of discussion for years. They often go for high-upside players with some question marks, hoping to develop talent rather than relying solely on proven stars. That approach might be exactly what they're doing with Sanders. They see his upside, but they're also aware of his flaws. And that's the NFL in a nutshell, finding the right mix of talent, character, and potential. The Browns are no strangers to taking risks on talented players from unconventional backgrounds or with some red flags. It's part of their identity now, and this draft pick fits right into that mold. Now, looking at Sanders' college career, it's filled with highlights and moments of brilliance. At Colorado, he's thrown for over 500 yards in a season, with a remarkable touchdown-to-interception ratio. His arm strength is elite, and his ability to extend plays is impressive. But he's also shown times of inconsistency, especially against tougher defenses. That's what NFL scouts are worried about. Can he translate his college success into the pros, where the game is faster, more complex, and more physically demanding? And, of course, his off-the-field personality will continue to be a talking point. Will he mature? Will he learn to be a leader who lifts his teammates rather than criticizing them publicly? These are the questions the Browns will be watching closely. In the end, Browns fans, this is a story of hope, potential, and a bit of controversy. Cleveland has taken a chance on a talented but polarizing quarterback, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it all unfolds. Will Shedeur become the franchise savior? Or will he struggle to adapt and face setbacks? Only time will tell. But one thing's for certain, the Browns are serious about building something special, and they're willing to take risks to do it. They've shown confidence in Sanders' talent, and now it's up to him to prove that he belongs in the NFL's elite. And now, Cleveland Browns fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Do you believe Shedeur Sanders has what it takes to be the next great quarterback in Cleveland? Or do you think his off-the-field issues and personality will hold him back? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Browns community. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with even more updates, analysis, and inside stories about your favorite team, so stay tuned for the latest Cleveland Browns news. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Browns!